Shalom, shalom, everybody. Shalom, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I know it's been a minute. It's Shallow, man. What's up, reading Shallow? We back at it. We back at it. YouTube, Facebook. What's up? What's up? Sorry for the, I've been off of here for a minute. So just to be fully upfront, I got some comments from somebody that said that they was Miss Shahrazad Ali. So I had to wait some time and get in touch with the real Miss Shahrazad Ali, and she has given me permission to continue reading her books. So since I have gotten okay to do so, that's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna get right back into it, and it shouldn't be nothing stopping us now. No detractors and naysayers and all that stuff. Because I really didn't want to move on to the next book without having finished up what I had started already. So we got everything ready, man. We back in it. Got my book, The Blackman's Guide. The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. I'm gonna have to see what's up. Why my camera ain't showing like it needs to show. But anyway, by Dr. Shahrazad Ali. So we got our dictionary for the words that we don't understand, or for the words we don't, so we can look it up and try to get a better understanding. We're on chapter 5. Where we left off was chapter 4. That was communications last time. So we're picking up on chapter 5, education. And boy, it feels good to be back. Let's get it. Education. So, man, come on in. We're going to try to get back to the 2 a days, one chapter in the morning, maybe one chapter in the afternoon or at night. We'll see how it goes. We're going to see how it goes with the restart. So, yeah, but let's get it. Education. And if you don't have the books, man, go check out Sister Shahrazad Ali. Go check out. These are all her books. All 6 that I know of so far. Maybe she has more, but as of right now, it's 6. Hey, you could hit her up at Sister Shahrazad Ali at yahoo.com. Order your books. Order your books from her directly, or you get them from eBay. Get it. Yeah, let me see. All right. As long as we keep getting an education that continually leaves us in the position of begging white people for a job, our so-called education is of no value at all. We must learn the skills that will provide us with freedom of employment and unlimited opportunities. We must learn to hire ourselves. Black brother, what does the white man teach you that will benefit you as an independent black man? That's a good question. What do they teach you of decency and respectability, so that the decent moral people of the earth will respect you as an equal among them and receive you as a visitor to their country, to have the freedom to be accepted into their moral, respectable social equality? Black man, I warn you to be careful of how you lay your head in the lap of the modern day Delilah. Do not be a prey to Delilah or her army of white men who are against you. Elijah Muhammad, messenger of Allah to you all. Chapter 5, education. Let me see, because this one might be in for long. We'll see. Ooh. Oh, yeah, there's gonna be a long one. A long one for me. But we're gonna get it. A long one for me. We're gonna try to push through the whole chapter this morning. It's been a minute. So y'all bear with me. All right, education. Education of Black men has changed drastically over the past several years. The definition and responsibilities of compulsory public education has also been which often changes every 4 years. Teachers and instructors have been required to incorporate their teaching techniques with lessons on self-control and to also function as disciplinarians. Children are now showing up for class dressed inappropriately, sleepy, carriers of personality deficiencies, that Black children score low and remember little of what they learned in their previous years of school, and are indifferent to approaching new topics of learning. Teacher salaries are too low. Wage increases are bleak, and many have left for better paying positions in the private sector. Hall monitors are replaced with police. Man. Hall monitors are replaced with police. Let me get my stuff right. I'll mark that one because that's a big thing. Hall monitors are replaced with police or security guards, and many teachers have been attacked by irate parents and terrorized by students. The era of schools being a happy, fun-filled, organized institution is over. Public schools now, especially from ninth grade on up, feel lucky if they can keep attendance at a decent level to justify their existence, and feel blessed if they can just get all of the children to stop talking at the same time, or at least long enough for them to take the role. Fewer children take books home or complete homework. Parents rarely show up to PTA or other school functions, and all involved agree that public education has failed. The overall scholastic achievement of the Black male is reportedly at its lowest EBB. I wonder what that is. EBB since 1954, when the Supreme Court declared segregated schools and recreational facilities unconstitutional. Hard civil rights and legal battles were fought yearly to secure what the Black men of the early 1960s perceived as equal opportunity to education. These moves signaled a new equal opportunity to education. These moves signaled a new, better chance to gain knowledge and skills that will prepare Black men for acceptance into the American workforce. Many Blacks benefited by integrating predominantly white colleges and universities, and managed to uncomfortable in white neighborhoods was very traumatic, but was dodgedly accomplished. This penetration was complicated, and no studies were made to determine the psychological adjustment. Afro-American historical data ensued, which included modification of dress codes to accept Black men's rights to wear their hair in the non-popular Afro hairstyles. Black curriculums were hastily thrown together, including a few Black scholars, scientists, post-slavery politicians, and a few courageous slaves who accompanied remarkable feats while enslaved. This also opened up new teaching positions for Black professors hired to direct and teach these new Black study courses. Incorporated into these classes were the works of contemporary Black writers of that period, such as, Leroy Jones, Amiri Baraka, Don L. Lee, Haki Mahabuti, Etheridge Knight, Dudley Randall, Ralph Ellison, and Frantz Fanon. Black men were thirsty for knowledge about themselves and were eager to learn. The new project of studying Black history uncovered many discrepancies in what Black men had been taught. On the university level, many of these misleading documentations were dispelled. However, on the elementary, junior, and senior high levels, the American public schools, few changes, levels of the American public schools, few changes were made in the methodology of teaching American and world history to Black children. So while many of the adult Black men of that era cleared up a lot of their misunderstandings about their real achievements and potential, the oncoming younger generations did not have this information imparted to them. By 1975, faces of drawings of Afro-Americans began showing up in the elementary level textbooks, but all E's remained the same. Of all else, excuse me, but all else remained the same. Hey, shalom, Shema, we good, baby. We good, shalom, shalom. We back at it, baby. The same history was taught with Black faces added. As it turned out, the popularity of the Black pride and Black history studies began to subside. And as the fads and trends of civil unrest faded, so did excitement and interest about Black history. Bored white hippies disintegrated and their communes disappeared. They grew older, became bored with their rebellion, and returned to school to eventually assume the places prepared for them by their parents and society. The debunking of the civil rights industry shortly followed. On the trail of the dwindling participation of the Vietnam War, the youthful black men leaders without adult leadership representation caused the Black Pride movement to become tired and unfashionable and finished. Gone went the African clothes, symbols, and poetry, and they were replaced with bell-bottom pants, disco lights, and miniskirts. American business as usual resumed. The more outspoken Black men leaders were quieted either by murder, political appointment, business ventures, or jail. The existence of specialized daycare centers for Black children dwindled. Government funding was withdrawn. I bet it was. Government funding was withdrawn, and only a few unwavering Black. He could teach his own Black history. Good morning. How you doing? You feeling better? You gonna be in here and read with me, or you gonna be with Man? Man. All right. Excuse me, my bad. This was the existence of specialized daycare centers for Black children dwindled. Government funding was withdrawn, and only a few unwavering Black men leaders continued to struggle. As an oversight, this was the only period of the Black man's background that would have permitted him to establish his own unintegrated schools where he could teach his own Black history. This was an immediate chance to pass on to his children their real legacy by teaching them what he had learned about Black pride. But he blew it. He did not opt for single control of his own schools on the elementary level, even in his own community. He did not insist on remaining in charge of the Black men leaders moved on to other political notions pertaining mostly to adults. They parlayed all of their mental energies towards voter registration and lobbying for expanded civil rights. He made no preparations for the oncoming. All the key things. He made no preparations. That's the key right there. That's a big key. Having foresight. He made no preparations for the oncoming Black generations, and he formulated no new standards for Black family home life. That still needs to be instilled today. That still needs to happen today. No new standards for a Black family home life. Really, Black family home life, that thing really doesn't apply as much today as it did back then, because there really aren't that many Black families, because the Black family, or the Black nuclear family as they would call it, consists of the Black father, the Black mother, and the Black children, with the Black father being the head of the household. Dumbass. He made no effort to redirect Black dollars into Black businesses. And he made no attempts to restructure Black traditions, holidays, or celebrations for his children. He left everything intact. His educational demands consisted of better school buildings, recess materials, school lunches, immunizations, and health care, sport teams that included Black males, and integrated, teaching staffs and classrooms. He continued to depend on the government, the state of the city, to teach his children. He depended on the government, the state, and the city to teach his children. He continued children. He continued to depend on the government, the state, and the city to teach his children. He has always done this. Back in the day, during pre and post-slavery periods, the Methodists, the Quakers, and the Presbyterians were the first whites to establish Black schools. Their presence of authority, whether they were sympathizers or not, wedged them into position to teach and instill European histories and values, ideas, customs, and religions into the minds of Black children. The white female, dedicated and prim, was in charge of serving the plates of education the Black children ate from. What does prim mean? Prim. Let's look that up. Prim, P-R-I-M, prim. Prim. Breathe. Prim. 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 P-R-I-M. Stiff and formal. Primest. Primmed. Primer. Primming. To shape the face or lips into a prim. The white female, dedicated and stiff, was in charge of serving the plates of education of Black children ate from. The white female, dedicated and stiff, or dedicated and formal, or dedicated and prim, was in charge of serving the plates of education the Black children ate from. This was an honorable work, and dictated the format for maintenance at school. There were independent Black-owned and operated schools who felt compelled to maintain the standards approved and taught by whites. They were, of course, understaffed, and under-equipped, and they were mostly taught by women, while the men worked at other locations to earn money to support their families. This pattern has just today become under closer scrutiny, as many new-style Black men educators have started to realize that by the time they inherit a Black male in high school, after several years of being taught by white and Black women, that it is often too late to effectively teach him ideals and values he needs as a man. They are now trying to establish programs enabling them to reach Black male youth early in age to try to make a masculine impact in their character development during their formative years. More on this later. Part of the Black man's problems concerning his establishing regarding what to teach. What source will he use to teach the thematic sequence of Black history? And how can he teach this information and still turn out Black youth qualified to enter a European manned workforce to get a job? For a Black workforce. On the tail end of this dilemma is his concern that whites may not approve of him trying to form his own school. So much had already been put into motion for progress through integration. How can he abandon all this without sending a message that might be misread as hostile or rejection? Needed to establish his own standards for cultural transmission, he would be successful. This is not to suggest that the Black man copied all the white man's means and methods, but there are two major reasons to do this. Number one, accomplishments are made by using formulas that contain instructions and principles to achieve searching throughout history to replicate ancient ideas now extinct and uncompetitive in today's high-tech scholastic environment. As an example, this is how the European implanted his ideas for permanency. Number one, he programmed all the people with the same information, taught the same sequence of history, used the same names, places, and dates, and supplied events to document them as reality. Number two, more documentation was provided in books, literature, arts, preservation of our religion, and anointed his holidays and made moral judgment regarding home and family life. Number four, then he appointed able-bodied men to be in charge of each and every territory he claimed so that they could monitor the continued development of his ideas, to stay visible to keep the people on track, to reinforce his guidelines for setting up communities, and to evoke the rules of if someone strayed from the plan. He called this politics, labeled the members of the board politicians, and hired them to govern the people. If analyzed unemotionally, they did a magnificent job, one worthy of respect by those who use this kind of achievement as a measure of success. There is one word which best describes what the Europeans did. The one word is agree. Yeah, they all agreed together. They all agreed together. Oh, we're going to do this. They agreed among themselves on the strategies to reach their goals. They acted on their commitments and followed through on the plan. You know, it brings me, that brings me to the thought of when she says that the one word is agree. They agreed among themselves on the strategies to reach their goals. The phrase "divided we conquer" comes into mind. Divided we conquer, or divided they fall. Divided they fall. Together we stand. And it is definitely a great correlation for how the so-called Black man and woman move to how the so-called white man and woman move. They agree a lot easier together, where we tend not to agree on the more intricate and important parts of our cultural life on a daily basis. They acted on their commitments and followed through on the plan. And yes, some of their methods were unconscionable, but their plan worked. Today, they own American and plot its destiny. They designed their style of education based on the same principles they used to build their nation. They put variations on their history in their school books and continually drum this information into the brains of every school-age child in America. This is the way to educate someone into believing in something as a way of life and to inspire them to defend and feel allegiance towards the institution, giving them citizenship. It worked. So there is no way to save black male youth from destruction by their own design. The black man takes charge of dictating what it is that they will learn. Each resurgence of ideas about studying and hailing Black history produces new scholars and historians who uncover and report new information. They deserve evaluation. The first step the Black man must make is to come together with other concerned Black men. The first step the Black man must make is to come together. The first step the Black man must make is to come together with other concerned Black men and determine a definite format for teaching Black history, Black culture, Black ethics, and Black celebrations. He would have to decide on the wording, do the writing himself, print and distribute the books. These books would become mandatory documents from which every Black child would learn and study. Parents would be required to reinforce this information at home and keep the ideas in the forefront of the child's everyday life, in entertainment, meals, recreation, bedtime story, wall signs, emblems, pictures, and every other symbol in the home must reflect these impressions. I agree. I agree. I agree. The teachers in the schools who accept the responsibility of tattooing the brains of Black children with this information must make it a lifetime work and assemble written reports of each child's progress and problem areas, so that the next generation of teachers would add more pressure in the weak areas. These teachers should consist of men for the boys and women for the girls, up until the youth reach their late teens. Like that. I like that. I like that. These teachers should consist of men for the boys and women for the girls until the youth reach their late teens. Currently, Black male boys are presented with so much conflicting information about themselves and others that their little brains are overloaded. A new plan is undeniably needed. The suggested approaches above would have to be worked out detail by those appointed. Progress and monitoring are a must. Installing this system could take 30 to 50 years. Installing this system could take 30 to 50 years. Man, that's almost two generations. But I think no matter how long it would take, it's still something that is definitely needed, direly needed. This is a serious undertaking. And there will be no time for sports or play. Oh man, they don't want to hear that one. And there will be no time for sports or play. While this project sounds heavy and riddled with complications, African Americans uniformly admit that the public and private school systems have failed. Statistic takers report that one of every 5 Black boys, will not complete high school, and those remaining have a tendency to not pay rapt attention. Wrapped. Wrapped. Excuse me. Wrapped. Wrapped. R-A-P-T. Shalom. Shalom, Elijah. Shalom. Wrapped. Let's look that up. Wrapped. R-A-P-T. Kind of makes me think about a rapture. Wrapped. Wrapped. Already looking at it. Wrapped. Carried away by rapture. Carried away in imagination from the reality of one's environments. And those remaining have a tendency to not pay rapt attention, or carried away in imagination from the reality of one's environment attention. Rapt attention. Get good grades or muster up enough genuine interest to appreciate the experience. Public schools have become battlegrounds for drugs, prostitution, fights, shootings, delinquency, pregnancy, diseases, extortion, murder, intimidation, distraction, and promiscuity. And to top it all off, Black youth know about as much about Black history today as Black youth did in 1954, which means we got nowhere. They come out of school unable to read, write, or do simple math. They are categorized on the national scale as functionally illiterate or learning disabled. For the most part, there is nothing unrepairably wrong with their brains when they start kindergarten. Yet around 4th or 5th grade, they commence to exhibit fact retention problems. Little Black girls have a similar problem that brews in their teen years. Today's generation of teenage Black girls are the most immoral, fickle, today's generation of teenage Black girls are the most immoral, fickle, unprincipled, silly, and raunchy young women on the scene. They have the most filthy mouths of any other female population ever to be produced from the African American community. They shame any civilized adult Black woman because of their low-class behavior and gross ignorance. The equally outrageous behavior of young Black male teenagers is covered in another chapter. A separate series of Black educational facilities on the elementary level is desperately needed. Many Black American citizens object to this as if the idea is blasphemy and suggestive of succeeding the union. Hey, I'm down. Let's do that thing. Succeed the union. The ideas of establishing an all-Black school is not a new one. Booker T. Washington did his best to impress Negroes that they should always maintain their own learning and training centers in the 1800s. He was rejected because Negroes, even back then, wanted to integrate with whites' education. The next time a major separate Black school, specifically designed to serve the unique needs of Black youth, emerged was the early 1940s, established by Elijah Muhammad under the rulership of the Nation of Islam. His idea was rejected too, this time based on his racial politics. This is not to suggest that there have never been any attempts to establish Black-owned or Black-operated schools or colleges, but all the rest of them are fashioned after and are functionary uses that using the same information dispersed in the regular public school systems. The government assists on certain prerequisites that must be met in order to be considered certified or authorized to qualify for and receiving federal or state funds allocated for general public education. Any school taught Any school not meeting the set requirements is unable to attain grants or research awards. So even if the school does claim to be a Black academy of sorts, none of them have figured out how to be financially independent of the system, and therefore are under the same guidelines as any other public institution, although modified cosmetically to appear solely ethnic. Black men leaders in educational positions of authority or as teachers do not think that they are qualified to take over their own school system and have complete control over what African American children are taught. Black History Month is in February. Dr. King's birthday is celebrated in January. There is a tiny bit of recognition. The rest is gleaned from TV, movies, record albums, sports stars, from watching the people outside their doors and the people inside their homes. Not much positive imagery can be gotten out of such tunnel vision. With no specific direction regarding interpretation of how Black men are portrayed in society, they may as well not receive any exposure at all. So any partially intelligent Black adult recognizes the need for Blacks to establish their own schools, separate ones for the Black boys and ones for the Black girls, with Black male and Black female teachers. Come on. Nonsense. Hey, in August of 1991, a few educators around the country created quite a media stir for suggesting that Black boys need separate educational facilities to address their special needs. There are only a few of these types of schools allowed to exist. Damn. But fearing a trend, the public outcry against them from both Black men, from both feminists and liberals, soon a court of law informed these few Black men that they could do no such thing. After a few days of protests from the sponsor of the separate Black schools idea for Black boys, the issue was dropped. As usual, things went back to normal. Many parents and female teachers spoke out in support of the schools, but their experience and recommendations were ignored and disregarded, as they have always been. While it may be understandable why the public school system disagreed with the idea and slightly explainable why some Black and white females were against it, it is totally inconceivable why every Black man in America did not stand up and demand that they be allowed to teach and train their own sons, as every other nationality on earth has the right to do. Black men know that they got little of anything out of their public school experience or college campus life that serves or benefits them today, or help them define their identity or identity and purpose or manhood. Let me stop it. Oh Lord. Oh Lord, man. I want to read a couple things. It's one of the reasons why I have to keep reading. so that way I could knock that monster off my back. We might have to make this a two-part. We have to make this a two-part. Ooh, maybe not. Maybe not. I was tripping. They know they were not taught anything about the role or responsibility of a black man. But as usual, black men heard about the separate school issue and cowardly slinked out of sight and pretended that whatever else they were doing was more important. They are now using a reverse psyche on themselves as a form of denial. For example, they say they have been duped into thinking that they have special problems. DJ! DJ! Man, can you go get me a bottle of water, please, son? Can you go get me a bottle of water, please? A bottle of water! I need a bottle of water, son. I need a bottle of water. Go get me a bottle of water. Go get me a bottle of water. Go get me a bottle of water, please, Mr. Man. Go call your brother. Go call DJ. Go call DJ. Go tell DJ to come in. Go get him. Go get him for me. Hurry up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Go get your brother. All right. They are now using reverse psyche on themselves as a form of denial. For example, they say they have been duped into thinking that they have special problems, but that they are just as normal as the next fellow, and they are not going to go for stories and innuendo that they have unique problems indigenous only to black males. DJ! 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 DG, how you doing, sir? I need your help. Yes, sir. I need you to go get me a bottle of water, please. All right, thank you, sir. You could have got me a bottle of water from me. Mm-hmm. The error in their analogy is that the newspapers, TV, and jailhouses validate every day and every night that they do indeed have some kind of special problem. Every black man, father, and father to be in America should have stood up and supported the few black men educators who were bold enough to stake a public claim for the minds of black boys. They defended their positions well, to no avail. No other well-known popular black men leaders came out in support of them. No sports heroes, no actors, no politicians, no civil rights activists. The same kind of handkerchief head Negro man who failed to support. Thank you, son. Thank you very much. Oh, go get you a go. Yeah, this is mine. Go get you a bottle of water. Give me your cup. Give me your cup. You go get you a bottle of water and I'll open it for you. I'll put water in. Go get you a bottle of water. Get you another bottle of water, please. I need to. All right. They defended their position well, to no avail. The other well-known popular black men leaders came out in support, of them. No sports heroes, no other well-known black leaders. Hold on, I got you. There, I got you. Yes, I'm gonna let you put it in there. There you go, sir. No, thank you. No, thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. None of that. Took a hit. No other well-known popular black men leaders came out in support of them. No sports heroes, no actors, no politicians, no civil rights activists. The same kind of handkerchief head Negro man who failed to support and start separate schools for black children 30 and 40 years ago continue to avoid the same issue today. And this time, they are accompanied by their chicken-hearted grown sons who also do not take part in any issue involving motions that require them to be responsible for their own children. These charges are leveled at every black man in America because they should have stood up and supported those few black men educators who were negotiating with the government for the brains of black boys. Certainly, every black male school teacher should have voiced their support and wrote letters. The sponsors of the separate schools made a fatal mistake. The same mistake black men have been making for 90 years. 90 years, man, 90-year mistake. They keep asking the white man for permission to exert their own ideas. They should have endured solicited funds. They should have endured solicited funds from the blacks in sports and entertainment, and petitioned the umpteenth million black service organizations who claim they are working for the good of the people. If the black man believed that God was on his side, he would have courage to execute his own ideas despite the political opposition of the other races. The truth of the matter is that the black man has been taught so long to go against his nature that it makes him cringe when faced with making significant decisions because every decision he makes for himself requires him to reject the rules already ingrained in him by Europeans. The most important outcome of having black men teaching black boys is that it hopefully will produce a better breed of black men more qualified to marry, protect, and direct black women. I like the sound of that one too. I like the sound of that one too. Our black girls also need special attention in the development of femininity. Our black girls also need special attention in the development of femininity, home economics, child rearing, and general education skills. I agree, totally. I agree, totally. This is not to say that black girls should be taught less important information than black boys, but it does suggest that that if things are going to get back to normal, then black men must be trained to provide and rule, 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 provide and rule. Black men must be trained. Let me go back. Let me go back. If things are going to get back to normal, you know, people hate that word rule, especially the women. Rule. But let's if things are going to get back to normal, let's go here. Pull out my Bible. Pull out my Bible right quick. This is Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over you. Rule, rule. Let's see what rule means. Rule. Because people don't like that word, rule. Rule, rule, rule. For things to get back to normal, rule. R-U-L-E. Rule. Not rule. Rule. R-U-L-E. Rule. Rule. Control by authority. Rule. To control by authority. The reign of a monarch. An accepted method and behavior or procedure. The regulations setting forth the method of play in a sport. The ruler. The rule is the first one. Control by authority. If things are going to get back to normal, then black men must be trained to provide and rule. It's no different than what the Most High God says. To provide and rule. And the black woman must be taught how to be a wife and mother to rear a more authentic generation. Whites have always maintained separate schools for their male offspring. They maintained them under the guise of referring to them as boarding schools, military academies, the YMCA, or Boy Scouts. Which ain't just for boys no more. But they have always existed and all teach codes of behavior, honor, religion, defense, responsibility, and patriotism. They boast of graduating some of America's top leaders and many successful businesses. These units provide a male-filled environment without the distraction of females, outside competition, or interference of popular social trends. I like all that. I like all that. I love it. But you know, is a thing. How many, you know, the Boy Scouts thing, even with the Boy Scouts, you know, how many parents is really about teaching their children the things that, you know, we were taught in Boy Scouts? You know, how many children would, I mean, how many parents will really put their children in something like that? Like, I wouldn't mind teaching that. That would be something I wouldn't mind teaching, like a Boy Scouts thing. I was in Boy Scouts when I was young. I was in the Boy Scouts, and I wouldn't mind teaching that. The Boy Scouts has everything that I love to do, which is, you know, outdoor stuff, survival, defense, the teaching of a young boy how not to be so squeamish, I guess. Squeamish and, but how many parents would really, want and allow their children to go to something like that with a special dedication to only so-called Black youth, Black, Hispanic, and Native American youth? How many people would allow that? How many people would go to that? A couple more pages. Whites have always maintained separate schools for their male offspring. They maintained them under the guise of referring to them as boarding schools, military academies, the YMCA, or Boy Scouts. But they have always existed and all teach codes of behavior, honor, religion, defense, responsibility, and patriotism. They boast of graduating some of America's top leaders and many successful businessmen. These units provide a male-filled environment without the distraction of females, outside competition, and interference of popular social trends. The Black man must also have these kinds of institutions for his own young males. European adult males made this decision independent of the regular public school systems, and needless to say, do not ask or seek permission from Black men. What's up? Yeah, come on. You coming so you can read with Daddy? Bam! You got me here today. Let's go. No, I already read that part. Most I haven't gotten there. We're somewhere in here. That's right. Here on this side. Yes, let's get the so we can find that place. Here we go. They invoke natural law, which dictates that a man has a right to raise his son in any manner he chooses, as long as it doesn't conflict with the rights of others. A man who wants his own seed to survive must teach him self-worth and the value of his life by dedicating his own life to transferring this information to his offspring. The black men who graduate from African American colleges are ultimately not in any better condition than the ones who attended European-ran universities. They matriculate. Let's see what that means. Matriculate. What is the word matriculate? Have you heard that word before, man? Matriculate. Let's see what matriculate means. Hold this for me, please. Matriculate. Matriculate. Yeah, you put that spot there. Matriculate. 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 Can you say it again? Matriculate. Let's see if we can find it. Let's see if they have it in here. Matriculate. TR. Matric. There we go. I think it's in there. I think I got it. Yes, matriculate. Let's see what matriculate means, man. Here we go. Matriculate. 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 To enroll in a university or a college. Matriculation. Matriculated. Matriculate. Matriculating. Matriculate. All right. They matriculate, enroll in colleges, seek positions, preferably somewhere near Fortune 500, somewhere near the Fortune 500 or other corporate appropriate affiliation. They launch into giving every drop of brain power they have commit them to. Many of the younger graduates are determined to get a better job than their fathers. A better job than their fathers. Come on, sit up today. Sit up a little bit more. Ah, a better job than their fathers. Many of the younger graduates are determined to get a better job than their fathers. Most of their parents sent them to college to qualify for that singular accomplishment to get a good job, to get a good or better job. Every educational aim black men have had for the past years has been motivated by him trying to prepare himself to get a gig in one of the European owned existing operations. Yes, sir. Operations. Operations. Good job. That sounded good. Wow. Good job. Even those who do go into business do not feel comfortable in their careers unless they are integrated as far as possible into the European equation as their selected vocation. Some even hire whites. Due to government cutbacks in affirmative action stipulations, many black men are finding it not as easy to snuggle in the warm armpits of the European corporate body. The black man is the original form of human life to first surface on Earth. He used to be the most peaceful and most powerful ruler on the planet, but he has dropped to his lowest level ever recorded, and until he replaces the information that led him to the spot he is in today, his current endangerment will develop into his extinction. Man. Television is partly responsible for the miseducation of the black youth. Studies say that 9% of the American child's life is spent on education. 91% is spent watching television and playing sports or video games. Yearly, this breaks down to 11,000 hours per year spent on school and 18,000 hours staring at a TV set. Television programs teach values, standards, ethics, sexuality, ways to commit crimes, loopholes in the law, styles of dress, how to make excuses, how to get out of doing things, how to kill people, how to torture animals, how to smuggle drugs, how to rape or mug, interrogation, religion, and zillions of other immoral and illegal activities. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Television programs teach values, standards, ethics, sexuality, ways to commit crimes, loopholes in the law, styles of dress, how to make excuses, how to get out of doing things, how to kill people, how to torture animals, how to smuggle drugs, how to rape or mug, interrogation, religion, and zillions of other immoral and illegal activities. The messages of violence and situation ethics are no longer considered subliminal. The easy availability of cable provides easy access to X-rated movies at any time of the day or night. Television is a teaching tool. Television also teaches envy, inadequacy, and jealousy. TV is not a real world, but a black child who spends hours daily admiring and longing for the rich living lifestyles portrayed on television is more apt to look at his own surroundings and feel inadequate, develop resentment for people who live in luxury, and become obsessed with obtaining material possessions that he learns from the television to equate with success. The VCR machine, the VCR machine is not much better. They taking it back. The VCR machine is not much better. Movies are easily rented, and many a child and adult is under the video spell, hypnotized by watching hours of motion pictures with no commercial breaks. Few children have been educated on how to watch TV. First of all, every program on television is designed and specifically geared to attract consumers to see commercials to sell stuff. They provide a constant review of products repeated on the average of every 3 to 5 minutes. It's easy enough to claim that blacks always get the poorest, most degraded roles on TV, but black actors are not forced to take any part. So if they keep showing up in low-grade roles, it's because they chose to, either for the money or raw exhibition purpose or raw exhibition purposes. Black men are back acting in movies now. Spike Lee melted the ice a few years back, and since that time, history is repeating itself. Back in the 60s, due to the civil rights movement, blacks were given new opportunities to break into Hollywood and star in movies. After a few brief years of being given the chance to act out their warped fantasies on the widescreen in stories about drugs, pimps, karate heroes, sweaty slaves, gangsters, dope addicts, and black versions of monster movies, black actors fell from grace with the theatrical world. The movies became more and more pointless, slid to being ignorant, and ended up being remembered as plain silly. Today, the same thing is happening in the same insidious way. Black men and women are starting to show up in unrealistic comedic and crime-laden roles. The producers of these films say they present stories featuring actual black lifestyles currently going on. If they are currently going on, then African Americans already are familiar with the plots and climaxes. If movies are going to ever be viewed as educational tools, then they should write scripts showing what black life should be, as opposed to the confusion it's in today. I like that too. The black filmmakers have another unique chance while they have to the attention of the public to produce creative pictures of new images and positive ideals. If they do not, if they don't do this, excuse me, the black filmmakers have another unique chance while they have the attention of the public to create creative pictures of new images and positive ideas. If they don't do this, it won't be too long before they are obliterated from the big show again. Remember that movies, like television, are concocted to attract movie lovers who will spend money to go see a movie. When any particular topic or image loses its drawing power, they move on to the next prevailing attraction. They should be making films about African Americans to sell to the schools, and movies featuring capitalism tricks for the black dollar and attention. The subjects are endless. Every movie, video, television show, or picture poster teaches something and conveys a meaning. Academians report that the black boys respond poorly in math. Math produces analytical skills, sadly missing in the black men. Math has rules with which must be, excuse me, Math has rules which must be remembered throughout the solving of the problem. This is a thinking process that Black men do not have. When engaging in various types of encounters, both positive or negative in nature, they do not know the rules to call on to make value judgments or arrive peacefully at a solution each time they encounter the same type of problem. The basic tenets of math are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Theoretically, they signal addition, when to do more or give; subtraction, when to stop or pull; multiplication, when to join or build on; divide, separation or elimination. Math teaches Math teaches life coping skills and how to keep certain values and standards in mind when working through conflict or confusion. Like math, when these skills are known and practiced, the answers come out right. This is an example of the way that mathematics can be used to teach Black youth the importance of learning rules and how to use them. Meanwhile, each year, thousands of Black men graduate from college and cannot find employment to exercise their newly acquired skills. Unless the introduction of education is altered to become a more usable and tangible tool, it will become extremely difficult to continue to convince Black men, Black youth, of the value of getting an education. Because when they get out of school having such knowledge as they receive now, if they cannot secure a job, the education proves to be a waste of time and money. They are not trained to do anything with an education but to seek employment, working for you know who. Some are in debt from hefty student loans. Uzziah. Hey, yeah, Elijah. That's right, Elijah. That math part is bar. That math part was a bar from the market. The whole part. The whole paragraph. And I would read it again, but I'm running out of time on my live. Ooh. Some are in debt with hefty student loans, which they can't pay back because they can't find work. Black men learn attitudes and information from many sources. One of the more unusual ways is through superstitious nonsense. The ones they are the most familiar with originate from Judeo-Christian lore. They are number one. While black cats were considered lucky during the times of Egyptian pharaohs, later in Europe in the Middle Ages, black cats came to stand for evil and bad luck by being associated with witches. This myth followed the Europeans to America, and blacks grabbed hold to it and believed what they said. Black people didn't like to admit it, but they avoid black cats when possible to keep it from crossing in front of them and causing them bad luck. Even if they just see a black cat, this thought comes to mind. They suggest another subliminal reason to avoid and dislike the color black. Number two, Friday the 13th or the number 13 is being you have too many balls in here. Friday the 13th or the number 13 is being bad luck, as being bad luck came from the same source. Friday was allegedly the day Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit and got in big trouble with God. It's also said to be the day Cain killed Abel and the day Jesus got crucified. These days, some hotels do not have the the 13th floor, because so many Americans believe that this number to be bad luck. The number 13 is like a terroristic threat. And when blacks see it, they go the other way. Number 3, crossing the fingers is supposed to help a person succeed at something, and it stands for a special prayer done with the fingers. This stands for making the sign of the cross, which is supposed to ward off evil with its magical power. There are equally ridiculous others, such as throwing salt over his left shoulder. I've done that. Throwing salt over the left shoulder, not stepping on a crack on the sidewalk, done that. Opening an umbrella in the house, splitting a pole, not washing clothes on New Year's, making sure that a man is the first one to walk through the door on the new year, not letting a bird fly directly over his head, and the list goes on and on. Don't sweep on nobody's feet, and if they do, you gotta spit on the broom. That's one for me. Yeah, I usually don't do it tomorrow. Some even insist on eating black-eyed peas, candied yams, hog jaws, hog maws, and rice for New Year's Day dinner, because it's supposed to guarantee good luck for the rest of the year. Some carry a rabbit's foot on their keychains, are happy if they find a 4-leaf clover plant and hang a horseshoe over their doors. Many study astrology, numerology, witchcraft, and voodoo. They become very well versed with these customs, and each time they honor, submit to, remember, or practice any of these traditions from European folklore, they immersively deepen their entrenchment in the heritage which has turned them into what they are today. The next time he completes the requirements to earn his college degree, he needs to remember one other thing as he resplendently and proudly marches down the aisle dressed in his royal cap and gown outfit. This especially pertains to those matriculating in some of our dignified historically black colleges. He should keep in mind that the headpiece he wears was originally worn by those of the academic community of medieval Europe. They used the colors black, red, and purple to signify various degrees of knowledge. The transferring of the tassel signaling even higher elevation. The European bishops in the Church of Rome continues to wear their cap with the tassel and their matching gowns today. Perhaps soon a black man will search and find out what kinds of symbols his black ancestors used and commemorate compilations of an education and change to wearing those. Compulsory education compulsory attendance in public schools victimized the black man in many areas of his cultural development. And the required subjects rearranged his priorities and narrowed the possibilities of him ever getting a chance to study his own history. He does not know and is not familiar with his own languages, but is offered Latin, French, which I've taken, Russian, and Spanish also taken, as a foreign language requirement for graduation or college level pursuance. The black men who attend Catholic school receive the worst kind of brainwashing, because even when separated from girls during this educational process, they were totally surrounded by images, pictures, and rituals alien to their African heritage. He raised on a steady daily diet of praying to white male images, honoring the Blessed Virgin portrayed as a white female, and worshiping saints and other religious representations, who all happen to be Caucasian, as school curriculum, which was more strict and more civilized than the standard public schools. He lost out in the end, because Catholic schools made it easier for him to forget about his own people and to work to blend in with the white viewpoints. He became one of you guys, or the fellas, and he was fiercely instructed to refer to his instructors as father, mother, or sister. He grew to believe he really was related to them. And his studies consisted of daily classes on the Catholic religion with books filled with holy white men and women, saints. He had to memorize several names of patron saints to protect him, give him strength, provide for him, and take care of his family. He was taught that no matter what he needed or wanted, there was a white saint who had the religious power to give it to him, and he turned to them in prayer. Based on that kind of intense brainwashing that took place in the black boy's mind in Catholic school, it was considerably worse than attending regular public school, because he lost himself completely. Catholic school also reinforced the black man into developing a special regard and respect for white women because of the profound love that were taught to have for the Virgin Mary, due to her being the saintly mother of Jesus Christ. All of their prayers began with her name at the helm, which is all. They asked the mother to convince the son to bless him. And all the statutes and pomp and circumstances during Mass was copied after European and Greek symbolism. Man, we done, baby. That was chapter 5. I feel like I was rushing that last little bit, because I only got a certain amount of time on my live on YouTube, so I was trying to get it over with. But that was chapter 5, education. Man, there's a lot of stuff in there, baby. It's a lot of stuff in that chapter of education that really hit some key points that really need to be looked at and examined today, and really see if we really want to take on the challenge of repairing, resurrecting, and renewing the minds of the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And it's going to really start with the youth, because a lot of us, we pass the time. We pass the time, so it's going to be up to us to really, really take a better vantage point and viewpoint, a better approach, and a more definite approach to the integration of Blackness or nationality, culturalism, along with our own religions, into the minds of our youth. It's really gonna take an effort. It's really gonna take an effort, a daily effort. And just starting off, the fact that it could take 30 to 50 years, you need to keep that shit in mind. You need to keep it in mind. It's gonna take a while. That means that it couldn't happen until your son's son, your son's sons, maybe, is in school and learning about the stuff that you set forth for him to learn when you were able to. Because if you're gonna wait on your son to do it, or somebody else to do it, man, it's gonna inevitably fail. It's gonna inevitably fail. But man, that's what it is, man. That's chapter 5, Education, of the Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man by Dr. Shahrazad Ali. The next chapter that we're going to read is, man, we're moving. The next chapter is employment. That'll be chapter 6. And we might come back a little later on today and read that. She has some questions on employment. It's a nice little size, chapter 2. 91 to 112. It's a good little chapter, man. But we'll try to come back later. Hey, this one took my took my eye. It said, Black men don't want to pay child support. supplying money to pay for what they consider unnecessary needs for their children, especially if they have more for one, is not a priority to them. It ain't. It ain't. They don't need that. You want to get a what? An iPhone? They don't need that. You want to get a what? No, they don't need that. Yeah, next one, employment. Man, thank y'all for sticking with me. You know, it's shallow. Reading with shallow. We're gonna continue to read, learn, grow, see what we can do. How can we use some of these things to see the error in the ways that was done before and adjust in our life? For those who are doing their best to keep the commandments, how can you apply that even within trying to teach your children how to keep the commandments? Teach your children about the high holy days. Those things need to come into play within the education of your child. These things need to be a daily thing, It needs to be, they need to be bombarded with all that stuff, with everything, bombarded with visuals of the high holy days, visuals of pictures of your ancestors, or images of them, whether it's stuff that you drew, stuff somebody else drew, comics, cartoons, just like she says, the movies and TV shows. You have to have visuals. You need to bombard your children's mind with those things, and don't allow as much of the bombarding of the other things. If you want to help guide their education in so many ways, let me go back to this, to what TV does. Here we go. Television programs teaches. Let me mark all this shit. All right. Television programs teaches values, standards, ethics, sexuality, ways to commit crimes, loopholes in doing things, loopholes in the law, styles of dress, how to make excuses, how to get out of doing things, how to kill people, how to torture animals, how to smuggle drugs, how to rape or mug, integration, religion, and zillions of other immoral and illegal activities. If you want your children to learn other than that, then you need to bombard their mind with those things, so that way you can teach them the ethics, the values, the standards, the sexuality, the ways to do things so that you don't have to commit crimes. And even the crimes that they may be committing that they are, don't even know about. You need to bombard so they'll know these things. And that it may be a loophole in man's laws, but there ain't no loophole in the Lord's laws. There ain't no loophole. Either you're going to do what you're supposed to do and get the reward, or you're not going to do what you're supposed to do and you're going to get the reward one way or the other, man. You're going to get your pay. You're going to get your salary. Might not like it. But that's what it is, man. Hey, go check out Miss Shahrazad Ali. If you've never heard of her, check her out. Look to pick up some of her other books, and we'll keep reading and going through her catalog of books. But shallow out, man. Yes, sir. I'm done reading now.
You done reading now?
Yes, sir. I'm done reading for right now.
You done?
I might want to come with y'all.
Do you want to play a game with us?
Not right now.
Oh, man. Do you want to play Mario?
No, sir, not right now.
What are you playing now?
We might. I'm done reading that book, but we might read a little bit more from the next book.
So, what are you playing now?
You have to play the game of going over your numbers. How about that?
Numbers?
Yes, sir. So you can recognize. So you can recognize your numbers. All right. That's it. I'm out. Shalom, everybody. Till next time.